Right now I'm retired, and I was active sergeant major in the Army, E9, and worked in the aviation section. Special last assignment was a special task force, which has all been declassified, and so right now I'm just taking it easy.
Okay. So kind of talk to me about your childhood.
My childhood, I'm originally from Tennessee. I grew up in the country, and had a very good childhood. Everything was more or less small town, and played a lot of baseball. And I have three brothers and three sisters, so I came from a big family. And I joined the Army at 19 years old, and then stayed in the Army for 26 years.
So kind of tell me why you decided to join the Army.
Well, all of my father, my aunts, my uncles, and all of them, my grandfathers, all of them was in the military, and they didn't retire. I'm the only one that retired, and I just felt it was my duty to do that. And of course, Vietnam was going on, so it was either going to be drafted or either volunteer. So I volunteered.
And tell me exactly what you did while you were in the military.
And I started out in the infantry for about 4 years, and I was a point man in Vietnam, a walk point in front of the platoon or squad or something and look for the enemy and stuff like that. Stayed in Vietnam for the first year. Came back to Vietnam. Of course, I was airborne, so I went to Fort Bragg to 82nd. And I ended up getting into the aviation, re-enlisted for aviation as a mechanic. Once I did that, I went back to Vietnam as with the 101st, same units I was with before, as a crew chief and a door gunner. What a crew chief did is take care of all the maintenance on the aircraft. And he also sits in the weld with a machine gun. So you're a crew chief slash mechanic on the aircraft. And I did that for 2 more years, which I made rank, made sergeant, made staff sergeant onto it, and came back to the States, back to Fort Bragg, and I was in charge of maintenance, supervisor, stuff like that. I went various places all over the United States, for training, and then I stayed at Fort Bragg until I went to Germany. I stayed in Germany for almost 5 years. And from there, in Germany, I was in charge of the maintenance on aircraft, small unit, and we did all the maintenance and stuff like that. And then after I left Germany, I came back to Fort Bragg, the Fayetteville, Fort Bragg area. In there, I was a first sergeant in charge of aviation company, and then I left there and went to Korea. In Korea, I was in charge of a big maintenance company, and I was the first sergeant there. Left Korea, came back to Fort Bragg, and I ended up being into a unit, ended up being a special operations unit in Persian Gulf prior to Desert Storm. And then once that was over with, I went to Desert Storm, and then retired after 26 years in the Army. So I made the urgent ferry, which was Grenada. I made that one in Vietnam for 3 years, and then Desert Storm, all into 26 years.
Kind of talk to me about how important it was your job being a crew chief to keep up the maintenance on the helicopters during the war.
Okay. Well, the crew chief takes care of the first echelon or the lower maintenance on it. He checks the aircraft out every day, refuels, takes care of all the equipment in the aircraft, make sure it's ready and prepared to go on the mission for the pilots and stuff. So it's a real big job. You got to take care, just like you would if you was taking care of a car, but it's more important because this thing ain't got one way down, and that's when you're flying, you only go down. Also, when you're flying with the pilots, you are the eyes and the ears for the pilots. The pilot can only see forward or to his right or to his left. So when you go into a landing zone or you go anywhere as the crew chief, has to clear the back of the aircraft, make sure the tail rotor and everything is clear when he's flying and stuff like that. And when he gets it at the end of the day, when he gets through, he goes through all his maintenance to make sure his aircraft is safe and ready to go the next morning or whenever you get for a mission. We flew all kind of missions. We flew regular combat assault missions for the infantry. We also hauled resupply. We call that trash, called resupply, VIPs and stuff like that. And then when you're flying, especially in Vietnam, if you hear a Mayday go down for somebody calls for a medevac, and you are closer, and it might take 45 minutes to medevac to get there, and you at that location, you went in and performed medical evaluations on them, and took them to the hospital as quick as you can. So it was a very, very, very important job, and a lot of safety goes on to ensure, because you not only safety of the aircraft, you also got your safety of 3 other personnel in the aircraft all the time, and make sure that they everything is safe to fly.
Talk to me about some of the things that you saw while you were over there in Vietnam. I know, maybe you had some good times with your people you were serving with, and
Yes.
sometimes you don't have the best times over there. I'm sure you've seen a lot. So talk to me about what you've seen during your experience there.
Okay, it's the first time as infantry, our normal job was search and destroy the enemy, and we had searched, and we've had bad times where people got wounded and got killed, and we also have good times together. You depend on each other. You are friends. They don't care what race, where you're from, city or country. You got to bond together, because if you don't, it depends on each person's life. Walked the jungle, slept in the jungle. I didn't sleep. The 101st, when they first went over there was 18 months before they ever came back to their base camp. So I got there at their one of the first replacements. So I was there 6 months, living and eating and sleeping in the jungle. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Sometimes people think it's hot over in Vietnam all the time, and it really is. But the trouble is, when it goes to like 70 degrees, it feels like it's 30 degrees and stuff. And your clothes, you wore your clothes, and they brought clothes out and just threw them out to you. And if you was there when you first got there, you got them to get your sizes that'll fit you. If you don't, you get what they give you. And I've had one time that my uniform pants were so long they were extra large. And when I was in Vietnam first time, I only wore size 27 in the waist. And I had to take my knife and cut the legs off of them because they were so long. But it was still, you bond together with your friends. You make the best of what you can do, if you can make jokes out of it, you can make jokes out of it. I was in firefights where people got wounded and some got killed. And so I got to see that, which is not a good memory to memorize and stuff. You live like an animal. You got leeches, you got everything, any insects you can ever think of. And when I went to aviation, which was much better, I had a place to sleep, a cot to sleep on. I had food from a mess hall and stuff like that, always, not always, but most of the time, hot food. The first person that I saw get killed in aviation was 2 soldiers playing with the weapons, and one shot the other one, and they were best friends, and that was not very good. While I was in aviation flying, the helicopters that I was on got shot down 3 times. We did not totally crash and destroy, everybody, and luckily no one got hurt. The aircraft just auto-rotated down into the ground, and the pilots were able to land it in without turning it over and everything. The first time that I got shot down in a helicopter, the helicopter had 42 holes in it from the enemy fire we landed. And when we landed on a one-ship Elzie, so the front blades on the helicopter were hanging off the mountain, and the rear blades were hanging off the mountains. So you had to climb up on top of the aircraft for another aircraft to come in to pick you up. And it was pretty rough getting in and out. Luckily, nobody got hit. And the second time we got shot down was only one round went through the aircraft and hit a fuel cell. And the pilots said we were losing fuel. And I couldn't figure out why my feet and legs were getting wet, but a round came up through it and went through the fuel cell, and the fuel cell fuel was squirting up like a little water fountain. And then, of course, the third time they got shot down was in Lamson 719.
How many times did you get shot down?
3 times.
3 times, okay.
Well, the third time was we flew back, but it had holes in it, and once we shut down, we couldn't fly it no more. It had holes in the blades, and you couldn't fly with that. But that was during Lamson 719, which was a biggest helicopter lift and helicopter operation that's, I'll still say, in the history of Army aviation. It was real bad.
So what's going through your mind all 3 of these times?
Well, you're so busy, watching and taking and clearing and looking and everything. Just a lot of times you don't think about what's going on until after it's over with. And when it's over with, then you get scared. That's when you get your nerves, you calm down. Your adrenaline is pumping so fast that you really don't think about nothing except to do what you're supposed to do. And after it's over with, then you sit down and you start to cool off. That's when you really get scared and stuff. But it's very dependable. They depend. Everybody in the helicopter depends on each other. And then when you pick up soldiers or wounded guys, they depend on you to get them back to safety. So it's the adrenaline gets to pumping, and you don't think about nothing about getting hurt or anything like that. So, yeah.
How long have you been out of the military, retired?
I retired in '92.
Right.
I stayed in 26 years.
How do you feel looking back on your military career?
I liked it. Every time somebody meets me or greets me and tells me thank you for my military service, I tell them if I wasn't so damn old, I'd do it again. So that's the way I feel about it. I had a good career. I enjoyed the people, working with the people, with all the soldiers and everything. You meet from all over the United States, all over the country, wherever they came from. And then when you go to the different countries, you get to learn their customs and stuff like that. But I really enjoyed it. And I would have stayed to 30, but I didn't want to have to move again and move my family again. So I went ahead and retired 26 years. Okay. And I always retired 26 years because that's when you get your big pay raise for retirement. Okay.
You had to make sure you get the pay raise, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to serve, make sure you get all of the benefits.
Yes, ma'am.
So it says, how has your military service impacted your feelings about war and the military in general?
Well, I think about different wars and stuff, I just take the example of what's going on in Israel. I believe that if the United States hadn't got involved with it, it would be over with by now. And as far as for going to war, it depends on, I really didn't have any big emotions about it. I wanted to go to Vietnam. I volunteered to go as soon as I got in to go to Vietnam and stuff like that. And I just like doing that. You're a soldier, that's what you train for, and that's what you're living for, is to be a soldier. And it's very interesting.
Is there anything in particular that you would want someone to know about the military or your experience? Well,
my experience in the military, a lot of people don't agree with what I'm going to say, but a lot of people will agree with what I'll say. I think they should never stop the draft because, in civilian life and military life, you're always going to have 10% of the people just not going to do a good job. And I had all of the people I had in the Army, and I worked with them. I enjoyed it, and we didn't have any problems, and we always had to work as a team, because a team makes everything. You know, just like your sports, you know, you can have one guy that's the best in the world, but the other guy's not. The same way in the military. Uh, I would think that the military did a lot of good for the draftees people. You always had 10% that wasn't going to cooperate with nothing, but everybody came in. A lot of the people came in and they learned a trade, and they got out and they used that trade and to make their life. And also that a lot of people stayed in the military that were drafted. They found out that they might like it. It was a good retirement and stuff like that. As far as for war, it just depends what, you know, if the politicians don't get involved in it, you get in and you get out. When they get involved with it, you stay there forever and ever and ever. And that's what's been going on. But if the United States says we got to go, you got to go. And that's what the soldier trains for. Yeah.
So for you, what is it like? I know you've seen a lot of people, you know, pass away while you were over there in the war. What does it mean to you that you're still able to sit here and talk today?
Sometimes it makes you wonder why you're here, or sometimes it makes you, especially if you were a lot of people that were single, and you see a soldier gets killed and he's married and got a family, and you always wonder why, you know, he's got something to look forward for, and you're single, why that wasn't me. A lot of times I have thought that, why I didn't get hurt or get shot or get killed. And but there's nothing, you can't worry about it. You gotta let it go. You gotta let go of it. If you don't, it'll drive you crazy.
Yeah. I was gonna say, did you ever come up with an answer as to why?
Why I got killed? Not to get religion involved, but if somebody was, the good Lord's looking over me, I guess. You know, it's just like every day in day life. You train to deal with those circumstances, and you try to do it the best of your time. I was on barrel detail in Pennsylvania for a year, and every time I'd go on the barrel detail, I was actually in charge of the flag detachment, because we didn't have enough people to do the fire squad and everything else. And it's always hard to deal with that. I don't like going to funerals. I do go, but I don't like it. I don't care whether it's military or any of them. But I always wondered, and I still wonder to this day, why I didn't get hurt or killed. And I had friends grew up with, that went to high school with, that didn't make it home. And then you see people get killed every day in, you know, car wreck or something like that. It's just, you got to deal with it, that's it. Can't let it drive you crazy.
So kind of talk to me about your relationship with Ed Hughes. And if you don't know Ed Hughes, he was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam, and he was your commander.
Yes. I met Ed in '88. The Department of the Army put together a special unit that was helicopter unit, small helicopters with the armament. We went to the Persian Gulf. He was my commander, and I was his acting sergeant major, or his senior enlisted advisor. And when we put this unit together, we had to do our job, you know. Sometimes he was there and sometimes was not. Sometimes he was doing my job, sometimes I was doing his job. We got along very, very good. And the main reason we got along so good is he let me do what I would train for over 20-something years to do. We had personnel all over the United States at the same time, and we were coming and going. We worked just about 24 hours a day, and we were on call 24 hours a day. And we got to know each other, and the families got to know each other. We got real close. Sometimes he would be in the Persian Gulf. What we did, and it's all been declassified. We were in the middle of Persian Gulf protecting the oil tankers, that the Iranians were blowing up and trying to blow up and stuff like that. And so we worked off of Navy ships and platforms in the Persian Gulf. And our everyday life for from 88 to 90, I believe he left in 90 or 90, yeah, and 90 and 91 was a Desert Storm, and he had left the unit, and I stayed with the unit and went to the Gulf with the Desert Storm. Mm-hmm. But he was a pilot, and he flew Hueys. He was not rated in the small aircraft that we had, and he was in charge of putting the whole unit together. We started out with nothing. I mean, we had nothing except a building and desks with telephones, and that's what we started out with. And when we got through, our unit was picked to be what they have in the Army Aviation as a Army Aviation Unit of the Year award. We won that, and it was our names and stuff was in the magazines and stuff. And there's a big award throughout the whole Army career. It's actually the best Army Aviation Unit at that time every year. So we did that. We were real close knit with our personnel. We were very close with our families because we were small and we did this stuff. We was on call 24 hours a day. If a family problem, a dependent had a problem, then we was in charge of it. I'll give you a good example. One of the pilots was married to a Korean lady, and she was sick, had a toothache, and nobody could speak Korean. And so we had to search through post and get an interpreter to come and help her. We had to take care of the families. We had people hurt, not bad, but got hurt, so I had to go notify their wives in the middle of the night. And the first thing, if you think about a soldier that goes to notify a family for anything at night when they had, sleep, the first thing they have in their mind is their husband has been killed, but which it hasn't. And then you had to really take care of the family just as the same way you took care of the soldiers, because they were all over the place. Some of them would be in Florida training. Some of the soldiers would be into Norfolk, Virginia, training. Some would be at Fort Bragg and stuff like that. And it was really we both did I thought we did a real good job together. We got along fine, and he did what he was supposed to do. I did what I was supposed to do, and we got to know each other where we could just trust each other. Just as he'd be gone out of the country, and I would be running everything in the back and at Fort Bragg, and we just went at a day-to-day basis. It was a very, very important job, and we was picked by the Department of Army to put this unit together to defend and protect all the oil tankers in the Persian Gulf, and that's what we did. And then he departed and went to his, I think his MI, he's military intelligence, and he went to his Fort Davis, I think, in Massachusetts, and then I stayed at Fort Bragg. And Desert Storm came along, so what my job then was to get the equipment we had and everything and get it ready to take to the Persian Gulf at the same time. And it was very important. We got along very good, and we still get along good as this day. We're friends, we see each other, and we have a good time, sure do.
Thank you so much, Danny. That was perfect. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, ma'am. The only thing I'd say, if I wasn't so damn old, I'd still be in the military.
Thank you.
I really liked it. Yeah, it did.